the Converted Man here, and I've got Capricious Black Box.
Howdy.
Hello. Hi. Been a while. You back in the day, you and I would do videos, and sometimes we'd respond to each other or talk about the same thing. And we didn't have live hangouts back then. It was a difficult time. Remember, everything was made out of onions.
Well, yes and no, because I did do a couple of hangouts back in the day, but only a couple. But we did used to respond to different, I don't know, Bible thumping wingnut and Matthew 4:19 clips and things like that, videos that they had made. Often the two, us and some other guys obviously would respond. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one thing we had talked about at one point, and I don't know if it's still a thing or not, but I remember back in the day you were kind of like, I'm going to distance myself from the label atheist and just like, I don't believe. And it seemed to be kind of a not big deal, but it was interesting because it was unique. Do you still have that as part of your online persona, if you will, or is that something you've kind of felt differently about over time? Or
I mean, I guess initially I'd started my YouTube channel before I got active, and so it came up with the name, for the YouTube channel before I actually was active in sort of confronting the presuppositional Christian apologetic, which is what I ended up starting making YouTube videos about, because I had been developing my own philosophy in terms of dealing with the world rationally and developing arguments for things, being based in logic and empiricism and things like that. And when I started seeing the presuppositional apologetic online, I thought, well, this is like kind of wholly dishonest almost. It doesn't seem like a very good argument. It seems like a bit of trickery to me. And so I started making videos based on that. And obviously I went through and debunked, or whatever you want to call it. I made counter arguments and pulled things apart and analyzed them. And I did that until it was sort of not that interesting to me anymore. I wouldn't say my own personal philosophy, metaphysical type philosophy, has changed really over that entire time frame. I just kind of lost interest in the whole presup thing. And in some ways that community, again, the Bible thumping wingnuts, the Matthew 4:19s, Cy Ten Bruggencate, a lot of that kind of seemed to disintegrate a little bit. Maybe that's just my perception of it, but I just kind of lost interest, and I thought, this doesn't hold much for me anymore. Like, certainly the arguments never appealed to me, but after that amount of time, they appealed to me even less, like even as a passing curiosity. So that's why I sort of stopped. Would I say I'm still an atheist today? I don't know. I mean, I do. I really, in some ways, wouldn't want to associate with that label just based on the way atheists at large have kind of represented themselves in the last 10 years or so, in the public space. I'm not real thrilled about that, but obviously the label itself doesn't mean that you have to identify with a group. It's not a group label, really. Certainly not in the same way that organized religions are.
yeah.
But I'm almost a little bit more of an agnostic than any kind of a hardcore atheist at this point. I'm certainly not really agnostic on the Christian God or the any of the Abrahamic gods, anything like that. I think I'm pretty certain that none of that is an accurate reflection of the nature of our reality. But do I believe that there's no possibility that there's any creator, or that we couldn't even all be part of a grand consciousness? I don't know. And I try to be honest with myself about that.
Yeah, I think that back then, back in the day, so to speak, the word atheist, it was like kind of like championing championing this label and trying to make it positive and whatever. and you were like, well, I'm just gonna, I don't know what to call myself, but you know, it's like I don't believe in God, but it's like I don't need this label, and I thought it was really interesting back then. Still think it's interesting now because labels are weird. You know, we give ourselves labels, we give other people labels, and they're
Mhm.
useful, but they're limiting. But they're, you know, it's like you know, it's kind of like, well, your avatar name is another label. You know, it's like, well, what's it mean to be a capricious black box or a deconverted man? You know, I don't know. You know, just the name. It doesn't mean anything, or even your real name. It's like, well, what does that mean on its own? It's like, you
Sure.
know, but you know, so they can be good, they can be bad, they can be neutral, they can be useful or unuseful, and you know, I find it interesting. Still, some apologists, theists, whatever out there is like atheist means, you know, whatever. It's like no, it's got two meanings now. I know it's confusing to have more than one. You know, and other words have done that within our time frame where other words have gained meaning that they didn't have, or if they did have, we weren't aware of it before. And so it's like, yeah, language changes, you know, and
And
there's new.
that's the problem, of course, is the baggage that comes along with the label,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
So a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
times people are using a label and they mean something entirely different than what you would consider to be the standard dictionary definition of that label. And oftentimes, and this happens in many different groups, so I'm not just necessarily signaling out one group here, but a lot of times it's actually a little bit of a dog whistle to like-minded people to associate a thing with a person, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
really cautious about labels for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy. Like, you know, some one guy is a jerk, or a couple people are a jerk, and it's easy to kind of categorize everyone in that, paint everyone in that light. It's like I saw that I was, my brain was like wanting to do that because I'd had bad experiences with like a group of people, and it's like they're all X, but
Sure.
I'm going to keep telling myself that doesn't mean all X or Z. You know, it doesn't mean that just because those two people that happen to be that were
Hmm.
mean to me doesn't mean that all people like that will be mean to me, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's interesting how the brain wants to do it and you have to fight against it because it's like, I don't know, pattern seeking or group dynamics or
Yes. And
whatever it is in our brain. I don't know.
that's right. And especially if you're the type of person who holds truth and honesty within yourself, like personal integrity as a primacy, right? Like if you
Mm-hmm.
really, your goal is to be honest, and especially with yourself, like first, then you want to be really careful about utilizing labels to describe others so much.
Mm,
And mostly what I would prefer to do is just make arguments about behavior
mm,
and and um and arguments themselves and deal with the arguments rather than the people making them and that sort of thing, because of course that's all much more actionable. I think that's where the real battle, for lack of a better term, can be won, is if you're dealing with the arguments people make or deal with behavior, specific behavior that people exemplify, rather than using a label to try to quietly suggest behavior, because that's really what's going on often. A lot of terms get completely, they lose their actual original meaning and definition because people use them in order to try to manipulate um, perception so much.
yeah, yeah. I think that why I find it to be irritating or annoying is somebody says, you know, you believe this, you believe that, and it's like, how do you even? I don't even know what I believe half the time. How do you
Yeah.
know? You know, how do you know your worldview can't account for truth? And I was like, oh, really? What's my worldview? I'd love to
Well,
know. I
that's
don't even know. You know.
that's my other main major pet peeve is the mind reading.
Yeah, yeah,
This,
yeah.
and the
I
what I
want that to. Yeah, I want that to be a fallacy name as mind reading fallacy. You know.
totally, totally, and as I coined the term years ago, commandeering intent, because that's what people will do, right? They mind read, they kind of say, they speak for you and they tell you what you meant and they tell
Mm-hmm.
you what your argument means instead of asking you for clarification, which would be the honest thing to do. Again, getting back to sort of the honesty thing, that's a huge pet peeve of mine. And I see mind reading everywhere. It's all over the media, it's all over YouTube's, it's all over people's dismissal of others. And what they'll do is they'll do a whole bunch of that commandeering of intent to make the case to everybody else, to all the onlookers, as to why they should reject this person. And none of this is what the person's original intent was, I don't think, very often at all. And
Yeah,
I'm really against that. That's
yeah.
pretty dishonest, I think.
A lot of your videos were covering like more social stuff than I did, and even back when. And I remember
I morphed, yeah.
yeah, Noel Plum did that, and I kind of dipped my toe a little tiny, teeny bit into trying to do social stuff, and I was like, I can't make sense of anything other than pure logic stuff, so I'm just gonna focus on the thing that I'm good at, because like
Right.
understanding like this thing I can do, understanding that I don't know. And of course, then you get into because you wind up explaining yourself like 10 different ways when it's a social issue, especially if it's like political in nature or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like I was this person made a claim, and it happened to be a political claim, but it doesn't matter because I'm a skeptic. You made a claim, now you're going to have to do the burden. And he was like, well, I wasn't expecting you to demand burden, me to Google everything for him. Like, I'm a skeptic. This is what I do. This is who I am, And he's like, well, just listen to the person. I'm like, that's not a methodology. What's your method? You're like, well,
That's
and they,
common, yeah.
it's like, and then he kept going back. He's like, well, it's not about logic. I'm like, oh, okay, well, if it's not about logic, why are you talking to me? Like, why do I care? Like, if this is all just feelings then. So I don't need you in my life then. Why do I want that?
Yeah, I mean,
It's like,
often it's about feelings, or more importantly, arguments from assertion. People
yeah,
are
yeah,
quite, especially people who are normally in a bit of an echo chamber, they're used to being able to just make an argument from assertion. They just say a thing as though it's
yeah,
automatically true because they vocalized it, and the people around them never push back. In fact, a lot of them will, of course, agree and nod, and because they're in this echo chamber, and people are not used to having to back up their claim, to demonstrate the claim that they're making, even to provide even the most rudimentary backup for what they're saying.
yeah. And
And
it's,
yeah, I'm sorry,
you
but
can't just
I
tell
don't
me to
accept.
Google it, right? It's
That's
like,
right, and I don't
just
accept
Google it. I'm like,
arguments from assertion. Yeah.
it's like, why do I Google it? You Google it. You find, but you're not saying anything. It's like, this person speaks dumb or whatever the thing was. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but okay, even if you could somehow demonstrate that, like, well, so what? They could still be right, even if they're saying
Mhm.
things that sound dumb or are dumb, whatever, irrelevant or whatever. It's like, well, you know, what is it you're upset about? And they finally got to the core issue, which was like I don't know, there was the government shut down right now or whatever. I don't know what that's about. I'm apolitical, so I don't know what the bleep's going on or why. And I'm like,
Right.
well, and they're like, well, the one party's blaming the other. I'm like, well, yeah, they always do that
That's
stuff.
part,
I
that's
don't know.
politics. Yeah.
Yeah, it's politics, whatever.
Yeah.
It's weird that they can just shut down the government whenever they feel like. I think that should be illegal, but I don't care. I'm not an activist. I'm not an advocate. I'm not in that space, and there's nothing. What am I going to do? Like, vote
Right.
for somebody new? How can I vote if the government shut down? I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. It's like, be upset.
Yeah.
I don't. It's like, I guess you could
Yeah.
be upset, but it doesn't change anything, of course.
Yeah. And that's
Um,
really, when it comes down to changing into a little bit more social issues and whatnot that I did in my channel, that's why, because the thing I haven't lost interest in, the thing that I'm always the most interested in, is arguments.
yeah.
And so that's why, I've always, I coined the term years ago as well, the hot tub deliberations, because that's what I would do every
Mm,
night, is sit in the hot tub, before bed, and go through different arguments and run things out to their logical conclusion,
mm,
ponder arguments that I'd heard, and do internal critiques on my own positions. That was how I really started all of this long before I had the YouTube channel. Was I had a couple of positions that I held on pretty big issues like abortion and things like that.
mm-hmm.
And I came to realize that I had a pretty strong opinion on those things, but I didn't have a good foundation for that opinion, that position. It was
Mm.
basically something that had been asserted to me when I was young and impressionable by somebody who held a lot of sway in my world. And I adopted that person's position because of their force of, force of conviction. And
Mm.
I realized that I held these positions, but not for the right ideas. And I couldn't
Mm.
defend those positions. And so I started on my own journey of learning, trying to figure out how does one come to a position rationally and within honesty to themselves, of course, and analyze the best of, both sort of, usually binary arguments for the opposite sides of the same coin. And I embarked on that, and I developed my own positions for things, and it became very important to me. So I'm always really interested in that. Just before we go on, I just want to let you know, I just started having a migraine,
Oh
which is
no.
yes, and I've been battling them almost for a year now. Like I've had migraines for about 50 years in total, but I used to get one every 3 months or so. And for whatever reason, last year they started becoming way more frequent. And
Mm.
now I'm getting them quite frequent. And so I just started having one now. I don't think it's going to
Mm.
impact the hangout here or the live stream unless it gets really bad, because what they
Mm.
start with for always for me is I get a blind spot in my vision, and then I get all kinds of weird
Mm.
visual artifacting. So like my iPad right now,
Yeah, we
which is
can we
what I'm using, it looks like shit to me because my vision's all busted up.
Oh
But
dear.
as long as it just stays like that, that's fine, we can
Yeah,
continue.
yeah, yeah.
If it
Well,
starts getting to affect something else,
yeah,
because it
yeah, we can
can, then
you
I'll let you know.
yeah, absolutely. Your health comes first. I don't know. Maybe is it do you maybe need glasses or something? I don't. I
No,
mean,
no,
that's
no,
something
no,
that came to
no,
my mind.
no,
Like sometimes vision
no.
can be that. So I don't know. But
Well,
I should.
it can't cause a migraine,
Oh, okay.
not a real migraine.
Oh, I see.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I
there's
should
a
be wearing glasses, but I just it's like whatever. Screw
yeah. I
it.
think glasses can certainly, if you need glasses and you're not wearing them, I think it can cause a headache for sure. I don't think a migraine though, because a migraine is actually
Mm.
quite a unique neurological condition. It's actually more akin to um, epilepsy than it is a headache.
Wow.
Like I
Mm.
used to get really severe headaches as part of my migraines when I was younger, but I haven't had that in almost 30 years, like 25 years since I've
Mm.
had the real serious headache that can go along with them. It's mostly neurological symptoms. And so I get the broken up vision. I get sometimes my hands will go numb. They'll get pins and needles, really sharp ones. And also on my lips and tongue, my face can get pins and needles. And then when it gets really bad, which is what would end my participation tonight, would be sometimes it can affect the language center. So I
Mm.
literally become unable to speak.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So
that's
anyway,
yes,
I don't want to
yeah,
go on
yeah.
about that. I
No,
just
no,
wanted to
no.
let you know in
It's
case
part
I
of the
gotta bail real
yeah, yeah. No,
fast.
no,
Yeah.
it's no problem. It's
Yeah.
part of the human condition we have. I mean, newer guide to you might be his captive desk, and he just had found out he had cancer in his
Oh.
spinal cord or something, and he got that
Oh.
removed and everything. Now they're gonna like laser. I don't know if they have done it yet or they're gonna do it, but they're gonna like laser parts of his brain to get rid of like little tiny bits. And it's like they can just do that now. Like, okay, cool. It's like pew, 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 and
Yeah. Yeah, they can.
it's like this
Yeah.
really small laser, I guess. But it's still like in my mind, the sci-fi laser is like you will talk or
Hmm.
you will die, Mr.
Yeah,
Bond.
yeah, yeah. 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 We're kind of
And he's good humor about it. He's like, there's no cure for it, but everything is good and all this. And I'm like, yeah, well, you got to leave him alone. Leave my friend alone. Darn you, evil disease that I can't do anything about. And it's
yeah.
just like, you know, it's.
It's pretty awful. My wife has multiple sclerosis, right? So
Mm.
I'm sort of used to dealing with a chronic illness in the home, and she's got pretty good. She's in really good spirits pretty much all the time. But sometimes it really tests a person. Like
So,
sometimes. She said it today, she had a little bit of a bout, and it was not great. It was pretty awful. And she just yelled from the bathroom, I'm tired of being broken, which
Yeah,
is really
I've
heartbreaking to hear. Yeah.
I've
And
had
I'm
those
I'm
moments.
currently kind of tired of being broken too, because
Yeah,
these
yeah.
migraines are, I've had one a day for the last 4 or 5 days. I'm losing track now.
Mm.
Yeah.
Not
Anyway.
not fun, not fun.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
only we
yeah.
could turn it into something useful or productive. I don't know.
Well, I
It's,
remember once my wife and I went to Ecuador for a vacation, and there was a bunch of, airy fairy types there, right? One girl was there. She was actually from not that far from us. We didn't know, but as a crow flies from where our house is, which was quite wild that we would all end up in Ecuador. And she
yeah.
was studying to be like a shaman or something. And
Mm.
I had a migraine while we were there. And she said, "Oh, you need to embrace them. Maybe it's your connection to,
Yeah, the chakra.
another world or whatever." And I'm like, "You clearly have never had one of these, because it's nothing, it's
Mm,
not, it's not a link to some other dimension. It's none of that. It's a effing nightmare." But
yeah.
anyway.
It's
Yeah.
a giant demon sucking on your brain. Whatever.
Yeah, well,
Um,
what it really is, in case you don't know, is it's actually what they call a cortical spreading depression, which is
mm,
like a voltage wave that your brain initiates, that sweeps across your brain to depolarize, to like reset all the neurons. And the
mm,
reason it does that is because the neurons are having difficulty communicating in the first place. So
mm,
that's why it starts for me with like a blind spot. I'll have a blind spot in
mm.
my vision, and that's an area where the neurons are not able to communicate properly. And eventually the brain goes, "Okay, we're going to do a big ass reset." And it does this cortical spreading depression, which is this voltage wave that sweeps across the brain at like 3 to 5 millimeters per minute, something like that, this
Wow.
rate of progression.
Zzz,
And it resets all the neurons. And
wow.
so for me, it starts in the visual cortex. That's why I get the visual signs. For
Mm.
other people, it sometimes starts in different areas. But anyway, that's what it actually is. That's
Yeah.
why I say it's
Yeah.
more akin to like an epileptic seizure than it is a headache, because it's a
Mm,
totally different animal than because most headaches are actually vascular, right?
mm,
The migraine headache is not vascular. It has to do with this voltage zapping the whole brain.
mm,
So
mm.
it's a different deal. But anyway, like I
Yeah,
said,
yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to talk
Well,
about it
yeah,
too
that's
much.
what her, that's her, yeah. I mean, it's I mean, the way that the brain works or doesn't work is, it's part of the human condition.
Hmm.
And okay, so let's go back to arguments and like being kind of like looking for nuance is what I was thinking. Is it seems like you're actually like with abortion you brought up, and like for whatever reason before you brought it up that came into my head as like that's a big one, or it can be a big one. I don't know, but it seems
It's
like
one of
that
the
does.
heavyweight, yeah,
Yeah,
it's one of the
it does.
heavyweight issues.
Yeah, like the left right dynamic is the right are against it, the left are for it, and it's like, okay, can there be any compromise from either side here? Because you got to be able to negotiate, and it seems like the left, because it's so easy to do this, right? They're like the left wants it all the way up until you're about to give birth, and and that's ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, that is kind of ridiculous. Come on, guys, what are you doing? And they're like, yeah, because it's her choice up until the. I'm like, what is it like? And then somebody said something that was, I think it was a comedian. It was like, is this like a magic portal? Is the vagina a magic portal that once you go through, you're now alive? I'm like, well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's what you're saying. Basically, you're not alive
That's
until
yeah,
you go through or you get your belly opened, and I'm like,
yeah.
there's got to be there's got to be something, some compromise, something there.
Right. And
But
and more importantly, I think, as far as in terms of arguments is concerned, again, this gets back to, I have lots of little personal philosophies that I've developed over time. And one
mm,
of them is, at some point, if you're going to be honest, you got to at least contend with X, whatever
mm,
X is. So, and what that is a response to the fact that most people ignore the lion's share of their opponent's arguments. They just want to sort of
mm,
dismiss them out of hand, or they want to give them some straw man version that they can easily dismantle. But ultimately, if you want to be honest, there are parts of your opponent's argument that you at least have to contend with. Because
Mm,
oftentimes those are the problematic parts for your argument. Like if somebody's
right.
got a really good argument and it's contrary to yours, if they've really thought about it and thought it through, they will be able to pose things that cause difficulty for you. I would give one example actually, and that is recently I've watched a number of the Whatever podcast shows, and just out of curiosity to see what this phenomenon is really. And I've watched Andrew Wilson do some of what he calls blood sport debates, which I don't like. I'm not a big fan of sort of like winning at all cost, like
Mm.
just demolishing someone and all that. It's about the arguments for me,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and internal honesty. And I don't find I'm going to gain much internal honesty by having just winning the argument be the goal. The goal should be to
Mm.
kind of arrive
Get to
at
the truth.
truths,
Yeah,
arrive
yeah.
at truths. Yes.
Right.
But one of his arguments that I thought, at some point, if you're going to be honest with yourself, you got to at least contend with, is his argument that everything comes down to basically a force narrative or a threat narrative.
Mm.
In
Yeah.
other words, everything ultimately is bolstered by the force, sheer force. And there's an honesty actually to that. Like there's truth in that, even though it bothers me intellectually because it ought not be. It shouldn't be
Oh,
whoever's the strongest wins everything, in terms of arguments and whatnot, right?
yeah.
But at some point, I got to at least contend with that argument because he's not wrong either.
Yeah, yeah. The way that people behave in person is very different than they behave online. Because I can say whatever the leap I want about you and vice versa, and we can't smack each other around because we're in different locations, you
We're
know?
not in proximity, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like there's that threat of violence. Even though it's like even if you knew that person really well, like in the threat's like real low or even like zero or whatever, it's still kind of there to some extent, or maybe somebody else will smack you
Well, you
around or
could do it.
whatever,
Yeah,
you know?
you could do it sort of via proxy, I suppose. That's what
Yeah,
happened with a lot of the doxing and all of
yeah,
that
right,
that ended up
exactly.
occurring. Whoops.
Whoa.
Yeah, in the
Yeah, in
world,
the
right?
online world, right? Yeah, there's
That's
like a
right.
different way to hurt you. I can, call your
That's right.
job
Yeah,
and get you fired, yada yada yada. And so
that's
it's like
right.
I got a way to smack you around, and people have weaponized words into that. Your words are hate speech. Your
Hmm.
words are killing people. People are dying because of what you're saying. I'm like, who's dying because of what somebody says?
Well,
They're
and
like, well,
then
they're
and then they'll tell you
yeah.
silence is violence too.
Yeah,
So you
it's
really
like
you
you
really
can't
can't
win no
win.
matter what. Right, right. You have to be on our side or you're wrong. And it's like
Yeah.
we gotta have some nuance here, people. But
And
that
none of those are
require,
good arguments as far as I'm
yeah.
concerned, obviously,
But it requires, it requires thinking and critical thinking and logic and skepticism. And it takes energy to think, and so
Mhm.
people just don't do it. It's easier to not do it. But I think that's right. It's true at some level that yeah, violence or force or whatever you'd like to call it, the threat of that um, socializes us to some degree. That I'm not going to behave the same way in person that I could online. Now, ideally for me, I try to behave the way I would in person, but that's me, not and
Sure.
that's
Yeah,
something
me too. Yeah.
it took a lot to do that to my own brain to train myself to do that. For a long time, people online were just names, and I didn't think of them
Sure.
as people. I thought of them as like characters in a story or something, and I acted like that, and it was, not good to do that. And I didn't, it took me time to really see that people are real. Even
Hmm.
if you're just, it's just all words and text and whatever, that's still a real person typing that. And it took me, time and energy to understand and get that. And now we're seeing kind of like they've done polls and stuff that people, younger people, are not comprehensively reading anymore. They cannot read a long book. They don't understand it because
Crazy.
they're decent. They're TikToking everything. They're little tiny messages. So even though they're reading more words, they're understanding less. And I'm like, well, that sucks. And it's like, well, what's the solution for the phone? Everybody asks because they're doom scrolling. I'm like, get rid of the phone. That's the
Yeah,
solution. Get rid of
and
the
I'm really
phone.
thankful that I'm not part of this generation. Like I'm really thankful that I have sort of one foot in each era, one foot in the real tech era. So I
Mm-hmm.
understand a lot of stuff because I came along as personal computers came into the mainstream. I've been through that, all of that. So I've grown with all of the technology. So I'm capable, competent, I can use it all. I know what I'm doing, generally speaking. I built computers, I programmed them. I used to install my own different operating systems, all that stuff. Security cameras and that kind of technology, all that stuff. But also, I grew up with an outhouse and a root cellar and kerosene lanterns, and I understand a world without all that stuff. I
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
how to build, how to make a garden. I understand. I can read, and I can
Yeah.
read
Yeah. Yeah.
not just disparate things, sort of.
You sit down with a book and actually
I can
just
sit
read
down
the
with,
book
yeah, with
without,
one sort of conceptual, um one conceptual thing, and engage with it for hours at a
Yeah.
time. I'm
Yeah.
capable of that. And I wonder about, obviously the attention span of having stuff coming at you from all different
It's
areas
yeah.
all the time and not dealing with one thing conceptually for
Yeah.
long periods. But anyway,
Yeah.
I am thankful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Like I said, I'm aware of that this is a problem. Like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. I could complain about it, I suppose, and
Sure.
in a way, I guess I'm doing that now. But it's like, other than that, it's like, yeah, it's a problem. Okay, well, okay, what am I supposed to? I don't know
Other
what
than
I'm.
encouraging, yeah, other than encouraging people to branch out in different ways, there's not really
Right?
much
Yeah,
an
there's really not.
individuals can do. Yeah.
Yeah, same sort of thing with the thing I focus on is trying to get people to learn informal logic by I just say that like all the time, like, learn, have you learned it yet, have you what do you need more, do you need to brush up, it's like it's my obsessive thing, because I want
Hmm.
everyone to understand this thing that I understand. And
Sure.
I'm sure that there's people that still haven't read even a book on informal logic that know me and have heard me say it a million times, and they're like, "Yeah, I'll get to it." I'm sure that that's the case, but I still do it because it's like, well, what else am I gonna do? It's something and it's kind of,
Well, and yeah,
I don't
I
know.
I do think you have more. Well, this could be wrong, but I do think we tend to have more real influence on people that we know in our personal lives anyway, probably. It's not to say you don't have influence on people online, but I
Yeah,
think
it's hard to
meaningful
know.
influence, yeah, meaningful influence on people that you have in your own life. And in particular, probably a lot of it has to do with the way you live your own life and how much
Mm,
integrity you kind of display to other people, where they see that and they go, yeah, let's engage with this person more because we're drawn to them, and they
mm.
see the way you behave and stuff like that. Online, it's hard to say,
Yeah, but
how
there's still
much.
something,
Yeah.
that brings us online, to do content. You were off for a while, you were
Mhm.
focusing on that real life, whatever that is.
Well, it was
And
work. That was the main
yeah,
reason. I got so busy in the shop, I just couldn't even take the time anymore to run
yeah,
off to the other side of my driveway and cut a little video, with that backdrop that I had, the mountains behind. I just didn't have time even for a 10-minute
yeah,
video anymore.
yeah.
So that's why I had taken so much time away.
I mean, and
Yeah.
then some people have even taken and they film like for not TikTok, the other one, the one
So
you
like
can get
Instagram or,
bits and subs, and you get subs, and the subs are worth money.
oh, okay.
I forget what the bleep it's called now.
Yeah.
But at any rate, the one guy was filming his work and like got super famous for doing that. So it's like,
Sure.
I don't know. There might be an audience for watching you work. Not that you necessarily want to
There's
broadcast
lots
that,
of
but
that. Yeah, there is
you
lots
never
of that.
know.
Sure.
Uh,
It's a lot of
uh,
work. That's the thing, right? So you can't be too busy and do that because it does take work. It takes effort. to do that stuff. Um, even at a
Twitch.
low level.
That's what it is. Twitch.
Twitch. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
could. I was like,
Yeah.
finally, I was like, what is it? Was it Twitch? Okay, there it is. Yeah.
It's sometimes really difficult to try to figure out what is it that makes something click where
Interesting.
suddenly,
Yeah.
yeah, where it takes
It,
off.
I don't know. I don't know. With the
Yeah.
one guy, he was just like so genuinely humble and like very, peaceful and kind. And he was just doing this little woodwork thing or whatever. And he's like,
Okay.
"Oh yeah, hi, thank you for watching." Blah blah blah. And he went back and he's like, "Oh yeah, I see. Okay, thank you." And he got a donation. He was like, "Oh no, no, don't give me money." And he was like, really, he meant it too. And he was like, "Thank you though." Okay, and it's like every time he got a donation, he was like really, and he got like a big one, and he was like, and he really was humble about it. Did charity and stuff with it, and
Hmm.
so like he got more people because he was genuinely that, and people could
Yeah.
tell like it wasn't like an act or whatever. And you
Hmm.
can't, and I guess somebody else like go, "Oh, I'll just copy that." Like unless you're genuine, you can't. You have
No.
to actually be that way. And
Yeah.
and whether
It's
or
pretty
not
tough to
people,
fake it. Yeah, I
yeah,
think
it's kind
so.
of, I mean, I guess you could, I don't know, maybe you're that good of an actor, but it's hard to say.
And even if
but
you're
yeah.
not, yeah, even if you're not faking it half the time, that's the accusation anyway.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, that could be the case too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and you're kind of here, you're kind of there, you're kind of not, whatever you're doing. I mean, it's good that
Hmm.
I always liked your ideas and your thoughtfulness, and you would, talk out the ideas that you had. And that's the thing I find valuable. And I learned something about reality, or something about you, or something about humanity through that. So
Hmm.
I always walk, it's like thinking about something new. So I think that approach that you have, and it's just you being you, it's not anything like that I can really describe other than that. And if you don't do it, well, we'll miss you. But I'm appreciative of when you are producing content, because it's something that I like to engage with and think about. And even, especially if I disagree with it, that's great, because we can debate it, and we can
Hmm.
we can figure out what's, how what what's the problem here. Is it I'm upset because this is really about me and it's a me problem? Is it a you? Is it a us problem? What? How do we fix this? What?
Hmm.
Uh, and like even with, of course, going back to God, because that's a big topic. Of course, it's like, well, why are we here? I don't. Well,
Yeah.
you can. There's some answer, but then there's not really a complete answer. So the skeptic is like, I look at the universe and go, I mean, I don't know, that's good enough. I mean, whatever. And but people go, well, but we need a story, because we humans love stories. So we tell a story about the universe and how it came to be, and then we just believe the story. And I'm like, yeah, be careful about that. You can't
Yeah.
just,
I mean, for me, it's about a lot more than that, though, currently at least, and has been for a long time. But like, this is a question that I ponder all the time, a lot. Why
Mhm.
are we here?
Yeah,
And
it's
what I do
amazing.
actually is I go Mondays now, since I've been retired. For the last while, I've been taking Mondays and I go for coffee by myself somewhere away from the house, just a little coffee shop. And I'm usually there for like 3 hours. I think they probably want to get rid of me, but they don't ask me to leave. And I was using that time to write like a family biography of
Hmm.
my sort of, my family of origin, my mom and dad and my brother. And we had kind of an interesting story. So I've been gathering anecdotes and family history, and working on developing some kind of a family biography. But lately I've sort of stopped doing that. It's shelved for a little while, and I've been journaling instead and reading some, and sometimes just thinking. And a lot of it is about that, because since I retired, I think it's because I have more time. When you're working, when you're running a business and you're working really, really hard, you just don't have a lot of time to think about this stuff. And so things that might otherwise concern you don't, because you just don't have the luxury. And now they do, and I'm trying to find my own comfort in in whatever is there.
Mm.
And for me, the question about, what is the nature of our reality
Hmm.
is more about what can give me some utility in my life.
Mm.
What can I use to help me find greater happiness, to make more um to make better decisions, to be more decisive,
Mm.
to make decisions that where I don't feel like I'm so, because I don't know, to add to the sort of woo woo aspect of things. I'm a Libra, by
Yeah.
birth sign, and it's the sort of the scales. And I often think about that. Well, in that sense, I'm kind of there because I'm constantly weighing things out, sometimes to the point of indecision, and that
Yeah. Yeah.
often isn't great, right? Whereas in my business, I had to be decisive. There's no question, because I just didn't have the luxury of waffling on things. So I was always making decisions, and I did really good at it. To be fair to myself, I was very good at it. Now I waffle more. So I'm looking for things that provide me utility in my life, primarily just for general happiness. Really,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what I'm looking for, more so than trying to answer this question, because I've come to the conclusion a long time ago, it doesn't really matter if I answer that question.
Yeah. It's
Like,
like
what's the
it.
difference?
Yeah. What
Yeah.
would it? Yeah. It's like it's something silly like 42 or
unless
whatever.
unless I came to the conclusion that the Christian God is actually, then
Yeah.
I
That
could
would
avoid
be
hell. Then I could avoid hell by following the dictates,
right.
right?
Right. Right.
But other than that, I don't think there's much utility in me answering the question,
Yeah,
the,
it
the
would be
existential
interesting to
question. But
know. Yeah, like whatever it is, it's either going to be something really stupidly simple or so complicated that we'll be like, nobody, either way, it's going to be something like, it's going to be unsatisfying or it's going to be too complicated. Like, that's what I
yeah,
feel. It's like, it's going to be one of the extreme or the other. Or it's going to be in the middle and you're going to be like, well, that was, everybody should have done. Come on.
yeah. Now
you
the
know,
now speaking of utility when it comes to that, my mom used to read a lot of Jane Roberts books, and I don't know if you're familiar with her at all, but
Mm.
she channeled somebody, an entity that
Oh, geez.
that they called Seth. Well, it's actually
Okay.
quite interesting, and she was very prolific. She wrote a lot of books. And if it was a farce, it was quite an elaborate, quite a complex farce, because it was all stream of consciousness. She would just
Mm.
speak when she's channeling this entity. She would just speak, and her husband would make notes and turn that into a book. And there is a
Yeah.
lot of content. Like, we're
That's
talking, I don't know, more than 20 books for sure. And my mom used to read them, and I've been reading them, and I used to read them when I was younger as well. And what's interesting about those is, of course, there's a lot of sort of the universal truth type stuff in there. Some of it echoes things that are in other philosophies, some of it that echoes things that would be considered
mm.
biblical. And there is a lot of utility in those. So I don't necessarily read it because I think it's an accurate reflection of the nature of our
Yeah, it's
existence,
just something
but
fun,
rather it's interesting. And also the utility that I get there is really, I mean, it's improved my life, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
sort of
yeah,
behaving on some of these ideas, right? As though they're true anyway.
yeah, yeah. So you have a lot of audio equipment, or what looks like audio equipment to
Oh,
my
you have no
untrained eye.
idea.
Yeah. Well, you want to talk a little bit about that? Is that your business, or is that a hobby, or
That's a hobby. Yeah. Yeah.
okay?
I'll mention the girl behind me, on this side. I'll
Yeah, yeah,
mention
yeah.
her just really
Let's.
quickly, just just because I happened to bump the iPad, and
Yeah,
it moved her
yeah,
into the
yeah.
frame. That's a Grand Theft Auto Online character that I developed, when it's the only game I
Oh,
really
okay.
play. I used to do sim racing, but I don't have time for that anymore because I got really, really deep into it. I built racing simulators, motion activated, all that stuff. But I don't have time for that anymore. But I do play Grand Theft Auto Online every once in a while because it's a good escape.
Yeah,
And when I
yeah.
when I joined, you do a custom character creation, and I created her, and I really kind of identified with her. That's Janice, in case anyone's interested. And so, one year I actually got, over there again. I actually got an online artist, an illustrator. I commissioned her to make a little bit nicer rendering of her than just what's in the game. So that's what that is. That's an
Okay.
That's a headshot that I had commissioned. But as far as the audio gear, so most of this is synthesizer stuff. And I've always been into music. I self-taught myself to play the piano, redundant, when I was young, like 10 years old or something like that. And I used to compose my own songs, and I had played tenor saxophone in high school band. I started a band, was in a band for a while. Always had synthesizers and keyboards. Now, when I was a young adult, once my daughter was born and real life took over, I was too sidetracked to stay with it. So I didn't practice enough, unfortunately, over all the years. But I always kept up on what the latest music technology was, and did some things here and there. And when I knew I was going to retire, I decided, okay, well, I'd like to do a lot more of that. It's a
Mm,
nice hobby, if nothing else. So I
yeah.
started buying a lot of equipment because I knew that once I retired, my financial picture was going to change. I'd have to be a lot more responsible. And so I bought a whole bunch of gear while I was building up to retirement, and I have all that now. And I go through it, and I usually spend a few hours a day in my room here and play different keyboards and whatnot. So
Yeah.
this room is pretty big, and it's completely full. And it's actually
May,
overflowed into another room with more music gear. So
I mean, you could always maybe like set up commissions for like if somebody wants you to make some music for them or something, and be like, okay, I want X amount for it, or whatever.
I probably could, but I don't think I ever would. Only because,
I don't know.
well, I don't want to commodify it because it's
Yeah,
already.
because then it wouldn't be as fun.
Well, and not only that, though, the main thing is, well, first of all, my daughter's in music professionally.
Oh, okay.
She's in the film industry, and I see the pressure, and I
Mm.
see all the stuff that goes along with it. So I want no part of that. Now, she loves what she does, but she also will be the first to admit that, like, it comes with an incredible amount of pressure. The
Yeah.
other thing is, I'm already putting enough pressure on myself before, without commodifying it. Like, I always feel like I need to produce something, and otherwise the investment wasn't worth it. I'm being way too strict about that. Instead, my wife will tell me, did you have fun? Oh yeah, I had a
Yeah.
blast.
Yeah.
Then she goes, I don't want to hear anything else, because that's all
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
And I
And
have to be reminded of this. Yeah.
I remember back in the day we had midis, and it was like the only way to get, or like easy. We didn't have, before file sharing was like a thing. We had midis, so it was like I had
Sure.
all these midis of different songs I liked and whatever. And I was like, all of a sudden it's
Yep.
like you can get the whole song now. I was like, oh, okay, bye bye midis, don't need you anymore.
Right, right,
They
right.
were just gone and forgotten. But they
What
had a charm to them. There was
Sure.
but oh
What I
well.
like doing, speaking of MIDI, is I use like this synthesizer that's on the top
Yeah.
there, the black one. I'll use that one, and I'll sequence a song on it because I got a really good sequencer. And I use Ableton Live as well on the computer, but I don't always like using the computer, like working inside the computer. It's
Mm-hmm.
nice to work DAWless, as they say. But I'll use that synthesizer, and I'll run the MIDI out to other synthesizers that don't have a keyboard on them. So I have
Mm.
lots of synthesizers that are just the sound module, and then I'll use that to go through them, and then I'll run those out to, because often those kind of synthesizers don't have onboard effects. And of course, we
Mm.
always want some reverb and some delay and maybe some distortion or something.
Wow.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
I'll run the audio out into some guitar effects pedals, and I have a bunch of those, and then out to some monitor speakers like those there, and I just jam out in my basement. And some days yesterday was a particularly good day. I had uh, a little bit of a discovery, a happy accident, they call them, where I discovered a particular combination of a certain guitar pedal doing a certain thing with it, and a certain synthesizer, and a certain
Mm.
song, and it just was killer. And I was just jamming out in my basement. And that's the reason I have all this, is to
Yeah.
do that, because it's
I,
really, really invigorating to do that.
I'm definitely gonna have to beg you to help create music for lyrics I have.
Well, the begging will probably do you no good, but anyway, we'll see,
Please,
we'll see.
please.
But
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
I have a hard time enough just
Coming up
even
with your own
recording.
stuff.
Well, like I did everything I did yesterday, and I quickly pulled out my iPhone and handheld it and did a little bit of recording while I was twisting the filter knob with my hand, to get, a couple of minutes of audio on my iPhone just off the microphone, just so I'd have something to commemorate the moment, because I didn't feel like going to all the
Ah,
trouble of
yeah,
actually
yeah, yeah,
recording
yeah.
it properly, let alone doing compression and EQing and all that. It kind of kills the flow, right? So
I understand. It's
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah. It was like, okay, so we got math physics nerd said the internet blood sports is something he hadn't mentioned in about 70
Mhm.
years. That sounds about almost how long you've been gone. I don't know how long you've been gone, but you've been gone a while.
Although, Matthew, not Matthew, Andrew Wilson, he does talk about it often, and it is on his channel. They talk about blood sports debates all the time. That's what he prides himself in engaging in. So if you're not watching Andrew
Is it
Wilson,
like
obviously,
fighting, like physical fighting, or is that just
no, it's
what do they
just
mean?
it's
Like,
just kind of no holds barred. Like, if your opponent makes a bit of an error, instead of like kind of helping them out for the purpose of the
oh,
discussion,
you just
you
crush
go
them
for
with.
the jugular, you
Oh,
crush them,
okay,
you take any advantage, and sometimes you get mean.
interesting.
Yeah, they'll get mean a little bit, and
Yeah,
there'll be insults flying around and stuff like that. And I don't have any, I have no desire to engage in that kind of
yeah.
stuff,
And then
but
the mighty Filbert said, "Yeah, yeah, but can you play catapult pancakes?" And I said, "I'd ask." That's one of the things I created the lyrics for, and
okay,
Seitan Atheist back in the day. You remember
right,
Seitan Atheist?
yes,
He did a lot of stuff for me. I ever so grateful to him forever. He created the music for it. I had the tune. I think I hummed the tune, and then he made it real from that. And then I
okay,
had some. I commissioned a creator I like that does music to cover my own song because I wanted it out there even more. So
right.
so so now if you put in YouTube Catapult Pancakes, you'll get my playlist of Catapult Pancakes, but then you'll get the cover of Catapult Pancakes as well.
I
So
see.
so
I see.
yeah, it's a very easy tune. I'm sure you could if you wanted to, but
Oh,
we're not gonna
probably. Yeah.
we're not gonna go down that route. But
Well, right now, what I'm doing, I'll tell you what I'm doing currently. I bought so much gear. I have a lot of
mhm.
modular gear, and then I have a lot of, like traditional style synthesizer keyboards. I actually had to go through and develop like a Google Calendar and just section off every month, and I call it a synth per month, because basically what I do, and some of these are still in the box new, and I'll go through, I'll pull that synthesizer. I've got a station over here that I set it all up on, and then I learn that synthesizer. I go through all of the functionality, spend the whole month of, afternoons in my room here, just going through it all and trying to make some music and stuff with it. And then I move to the next one, and I'm scheduled until early 2027 at the moment, and I've been doing this since 2024. So that tells you how much gear I bought.
Filbert says he's a big keyboard guy and sounds like you have a
Mm.
sweet setup. Do you want to throw out some nerdy numbers and letters of the keyboards and all that for Filbert
Well,
to?
I'll tell him a couple of things that I'm kind of, I don't want to say proud of, because I mean it's just,
No, it's
if you
okay to
can
be proud.
if you can afford to spend the money, I guess you can. And I ran an automotive repair shop, so I was, and I'm pretty frugal on everything else. Like I wear, underneath this sweatshirt is a $7, maybe even cheaper. I think
Oh
about a
man,
$7 Walmart t-shirt. That's
that's
what I
some
wear.
sexy t-shirt there,
That's my
man.
that's my going that's my going
Oh
out
man, no, no.
shirt. It's my going out shirt. But anyway, I did just buy a Hydrasynth Deluxe, which is a really nice keyboard. It's got MIDI polyphonic expression keyboard and two sound engines. It's a nice machine. I also have an Access Virus collection. I bought an Access Virus Snow new back in the day. That would have been, I don't know, 2006 maybe, somewhere like that, when that was a new machine. And I didn't really understand what I had, because it's a great synthesizer. It doesn't have any keyboard on it. It's just a little guy. It's about that big. And then a number of years before I retired, I started going through that synth and realized how powerful it is. And so I wanted a full size Access Virus TI, they call it. And so I bought one of those, and then I got hooked on those. So I currently have 6 Access Virus TIs, from the Snow up to the full size keyboard and kind of everything in between, kind of a collection, I guess, because I realized they'd stopped making them and they were going to be gone soon. And so I wanted to have enough that if one broke, I'd always have a backup. Now I got a few backups. So there's a little bit of, yeah,
Yeah, you said
little bit of
words. Oh,
trivia.
I don't
I
know
said
what any
words.
of those words were, but I'm sure Mighty Filbert, another keyboard,
The Access Virus is
would.
pretty well renowned. It's quite a
um,
machine. I
the
love it.
only
Yeah.
I gotta say, talking about music a little bit, or you're familiar at all with Nardwar, who interviews a lot of different musicians, and
I don't think
like,
I am.
okay, you might want to. I don't know, because like I don't know any of the people. Like I know he does. He did. What's his face? Snoop Dogg. He
Hmm.
interviewed him like 4 or 5 times or whatever. But
Okay.
like other than that, there's like he did Weird Al once. I know Weird Al, but like hardly anyone else. I don't really. He did a comedian once. I knew wherever. But I'm it's like I'm more interested because he knows so much about them and he gets these cool reactions from them and he's
Right.
got this
Right.
like really cool character or whatever that it's like that's why I listen to him. But if you're like into that type of music that he is talking about, like it might be even more interesting. It's like
Right.
goth, pop, what's it, underground stuff. The different all sorts of different genre of stuff, but you
Hmm.
know uh the sort of music I'm not into, like I said, but it's like I just like the way he talks to people, interviews people. I'm like, I want to do some version of that one day, but I have to like
Sure.
figure like how he finds out stuff. It's like he never tells that. He must be
Ah,
calling
right.
people and talking to moms and dads and family members or something. I don't know,
Doing some kind of
but
research. Yeah,
he's
obviously.
he's a legendary. Like the one, he's got like a compilation of like reaction videos or whatever, and like the one guy, he's got sunglasses on, he's chilling out, and he's like, "Do you like this?" He hands him records, and he hands him a doll, and he hands him all this stuff, and he's just like, "Wow, you are top notch." He just blew the guy away. So,
Right.
anyways,
I
but
will
yeah.
say, when I do consume music content like online, it's primarily the technology side of things, because like I said,
Mm,
I purchased a bunch of modular gear, and your viewer might know what that is as well, of course. And so I'm looking for instructional things, or just to see what other
mm,
people are doing, because it's a very experimental form of synthesis. And so you're just looking to see, get ideas, get something to trigger, maybe even an idea that's unrelated to what I'm watching, but it triggers something else in me.
mm.
And then the other thing too is, I like being sort of up on the technology aspect of it, because again, my daughter. So it's really cool when your adult daughter is sending you um, wave files of a project she's working on for a film, and asking for your opinion, asking for a critique, or is asking a technical problem that she's having. And it's like, it's crazy that I can actually assist her when she's got a degree in music. I do not, right? So it's cool to be able to engage with her like that. So yeah, that's most of the stuff I do consume.
Filbert says he wants a
Hmm.
keytar, uh, and because he first saw John Lowry with Petra. So these are all
Holy rolling
words.
days.
I
These
don't
are
I
all
don't.
words.
These are all words. I don't. It's all right. Let's talk about logic. I understand logic. Let's go back. I regret everything.
Well, speaking of
But
logic, modular synthesizers. Okay, that's enough. They do work with logic. That's the beauty of it. Yeah. I'll stop. I'll stop.
Yeah, that's all
I'll
right.
show myself out.
Yeah, no. But Capricious Black Box, thank you, because I always, I like interviewing. It's been a while since we talked and whatever, and I like, like I said, I like your content because like
Thank you.
you know, it's just like you're just you know, and it's not like necessarily about atheism or whatever, although some of your videos were, but not now. It's just like whatever, it's thinking. And because you are engaged in something I love, which is critical thinking, that's the thing that we definitely can relate on is
Sure.
This black and white thinking. And I've seen it, we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, that I see this all the time. You know, all the MAGA are racist. And it's like, really? They all are? Really? How do you know that? Like, I mean, what's a MAGA? You know, now we're just reducing people to the slogan, and it's like.
And you know what the irony? You know what the irony of that stuff is? These people will speak in absolutes like that, right?
Yeah.
But they don't universalize their own principles. So, in other words, they'll say that about some other group. They'll
and then they won't do
make
that
an
for
absolute
themselves.
claim, but then when somebody points out that someone on sort of their side is exhibiting some of the same behavior, they'll give them a pass.
Yeah.
So they don't universalize the principle which led them to dismiss and be so dismissive of the first group in the first place. And so that's very telling, right?
Yeah, I listened to this one guy because, like I said, I am apolitical, but I like to try to know what's going on to some extent. His name is John Strozel, and he covers some stuff, you know. And he was talking about how both sides want freedom of speech until they're in power, and then they don't. And I'm like, yep, you got it. That's it.
Yeah, or they'll be even more blatant. They want it until it's just the other guy speaking.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
They don't even have
exactly.
to be in power. They just don't want their enemy to have it.
Right. And it's like, dude, come on, man. We got it. Like, it's
and that's
weird.
where I prefer the deeper thinking, like, you know, people like you do, and other people who are engaged in the arguments, because then we can sort of come to realize that if you really are pro free speech, you realize it can be very fraught. And the reason it's fraught is because simple speech that everyone agrees with isn't what needs to be protected. It doesn't need any protection because it's not under threat.
It is the so-called hate speech.
It's the contentious speech that needs protection. Yes.
Right. Absolutely. I kind of like ideally, now I don't know if it would work, but like I'm an idealistic free speech, like everything would be allowed. And that's a different world than what we have. And I don't know if it's ever been tried or if it would work. I have no idea.
The sort of free speech absolutist
right? Yeah. And it's like, oh, can you say fire in a theater? Yeah, you can. But you're a jerk if you do, you know. I mean, like, why would you do that? You know, or can you say stuff that's like, because we have those laws, you know, protect people from slander, or whatever, all that stuff. It's like maybe we try not to do that. I don't know what that would look like. It might be really bad. I probably would be. You know, I don't know.
Sure,
but just to do like a small scale experiment, you know. Like we do like a small scale town experiment, see how it works or whatever, you know, for a couple of years and see how it goes. I need a lot of funding to do that. So
I mean, even with some of the pretty liberal free speech laws that we have had in the West, up until, you know, maybe 15 minutes ago, because it's a lot of that's been under attack quite a bit in the UK and in Canada. You know,
UK doesn't have any protection.
Oh, that's wild what's happening there, you know. But when it was a little bit more liberal, I think that was probably a pretty good sweet spot actually for freedom of speech, because there were protections broadly for contentious speech, but there were some stuff that could get a person in trouble. And of course, slander is not exactly the same as not having freedom of speech. It's just consequences, right? And you know, nothing in life really
is consequence free.
Is truly consequence free. And so you shouldn't try to remove consequences necessarily. It's just that the consequences should probably be proportional and reasonable and all of that.
You got to be careful with it, I guess. But you know, I'd love to see, you know, if I had the funds and all that, I'd love to, you know, run the experiment to see what happens, you know. And now with AI, you know, with AI, with fakes and all this, there was I saw this. There's people walking on water with shoes, and
Okay.
no, it's fake. It's completely fake. But people in the comments were like, "Oh, I want it. How much? Where can I buy it?" I'm like, "You can't, because they don't exist. They can't exist. You can't wear just shoes and walk on water. That's not gonna work. There's physics here." But people, it looked real, so people believed it. And I'm like, well, it's gonna either we're all gonna be completely gullible, or we're gonna have to be more skeptical. I'm hoping
that's the problem with idiocracy. Yeah, it is because there's a lot of very dumb people out there. I hate to say it. It sounds uncharitable, but it's just it's a statement of fact. You just got to look around. And I don't know, will AI actually cause people to finally start engaging in some discernment because
skepticism?
They get burned enough? Yeah, I would hope so too.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. It's like with that,
because people have always said that to me about the internet itself, right?
Yeah,
you got to watch out mis and disinformation and all that, which I hate those terms. But and I figured it out early, I think, for myself. A pat on the back, I guess. I don't know, but I realized this internet thing is really powerful, but I need to develop my discernment because I can get led astray quite easily. And I took it upon myself to do that, to be very skeptical of what I see online. And I've always tried to do that. And the odd occasion when something gets by me, like I think a link is real or whatever, and maybe I'll share it on my personal Facebook or whatever, and it turns out the thing was fake. Oh, it just kills me. I hate being suckered in, right? Like I hate that I got tricked, right?
You got tricked. You got, and of course,
and it's not because I hold myself up as some bastion of intelligence or anything. It's just that logic, right? I take it so seriously. I beat myself up over it, but it is what it is.
So thank you for your time and energy to kind of wrap up. I don't know. I do hope you keep doing content whenever you're able and willing to do so, but sure. You have a backlog now, and you're going to keep that up. Like, even if you did retire from YouTube, let us know, or if you're taking a break or whatever, let us know. But there's a lot to explore on your channel, so I would tell people, go check out your back catalog if they want,
And by all means, engage. I try to respond to comments, although I'm not always able to. But I always make it.
It only took me like 20 years to get a interview with you. Well,
it's true. No, to be fair, you have been after me for a long time, and in my defense, I was really busy for a long time.
No, I know. I'm messing with you. I'm just giving you a little.
That's true. You're not wrong.
I'm just joking. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. There's another guy.
I'm glad we did finally get to it, though. I really am.
Let me interview you. It's like as if I'm like an awesome interviewer or whatever. It's just I don't know. I enjoy doing it.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
CapriciousBlackBox. Any pontificative, amazing ideas that you want to end with, or any silly thing you want to say? Go ahead.
Not really. I just thank everyone for watching that has. And I still intend to create content and to comment on, on current events, even if they're no longer current, because again, the whole idea is the ideas. I watch Warren Smith quite a bit, and I notice he's always bringing up old clips. And I don't care because it's the argument that he's contending with, and that's what I'm interested in. So yeah, might be current events, they might be stale current events, but I'll usually comment on things, and I hope I've got at least somewhat of a unique perspective or whatever. I am willing to engage with people if they comment, especially if they're fairly timely with the comment as to when the video is uploaded. I'm more likely to see that, and that's mostly a notification issue. Like I don't always get notified. I'll sometimes find out that somebody commented on one of my old videos, like an 8-year-old video, and they commented 6 weeks ago. And I'm like, how did I miss that? I don't know. And so I'm sure there's notifications like that I miss. So anyway, but by all means, feel free to engage. And I appreciate the opportunity for an interview for sure.
It was great. I enjoyed learning about all things and hearing about the music stuff. And now I'm going to beg you to do all the music for. No, just kidding. I'm not going to even bother you with it.
And by the way, just so you know, the migraine cleared out. So I'm doing better now. So yeah,
we beat it. Yay!
I can see you again. Yeah.
I don't know who that is. Maybe you do, but okay.
All right. I'm going to
I hope
sign
that's a
off.
compliment. Bye, everybody. Okay, hit the button.